Alright, hey guys, this is Star Wars Archivist. This is going to be a new type of video that I mentioned at the end of my last lore video on the Inquisitorius. It's going to be a discussion video that'll probably come out weekly, and then eventually when Mandalorian Season 2 comes back up, it'll be replaced by the review and breakdown for each episode that week. And the discussion video, I'm not too sure about. It might be every other week, we'll see. But today we're going to be talking about the rumors of the sequel Retcon and the Dave Filoni touch, basically how Dave Filoni has been influenced by George Lucas and how his characters that he really likes, such as Captain Rex and Ahsoka, get used across the majority of his products. But without further ado, we're going to get into the possible sequel Retcon. Okay, I do have some notes written down, so if it sounds like I'm more organized, that's probably why. I'm just reading off the notes because the style I'm trying to go for here is just letting ideas coming out of my head like I do at mainly the end of my videos. So if I say a lot, that's mainly why, because I am just sitting here here to express my opinions. So the best place to start is my opinion on the sequel trilogy, and I'm planning one day to make a video about each trilogy when I really have my best video editing skills, my best voiceover skills, so I can really put my best foot forward and getting my opinions across there. But just for right now, I'm going to say I was really disappointed in them, and I was, I think, 9 when The Force Awakens came out, and that was my favorite Star Wars movie at the time, because I did like Star Wars before then. And I, was part of the Star Wars YouTube community back then, watching videos and things like that. And I knew people didn't really like the prequels back then. So, I was kind of like this brainwashed little relic of the Star Wars community, because when you're 9, you just believe anything you say. So, I was 9, then I was 11 when The Last Jedi came out, and that was my favorite Star Wars movie. But as time's gone on, and as the Rise of Skywalker released, and then you see there was no structure, and then what was the point of telling us that story? Was there really a reason for us to go back into this universe and learn what happened besides learning what happened to Luke, Han, and Leia? It really just doesn't feel like it has a purpose or a weight, because when Palpatine comes back in Episode 9, it just feels really shoved in there. So I don't like the sequels, pardon me. I do like the prequels now, but I don't like the sequels, and this isn't a good idea. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, there has been a leak by a YouTube channel, or more of a rumor, that his sources, what's the channel's name? Overlord DVD. He says that there's a civil war going on at Lucasfilm, and there's one half of the employees trying to take over and kind of trying to reset the saga and kind of erase episodes 8, 9, and 10. 7, 8, 9, and make them have their own alternate reality. And this is just a bad idea. I would like for that to happen, but it's just a bad idea. I mean, there's just no point to it. What's been done is done. People are going to remember the sequels as how they failed, and they'll never be able to look past, if they did make a new trilogy, how they failed the first time. Remember, guys? So you can't really like Disney. And the way they explain it is that Palpatine uses these mirrors that were on the second Death Star, and instead the mirrors don't work. Meaning that, so he would use the mirrors to travel to Exegol, and the way it's explained makes it sound as if the sequel trilogy isn't an offshoot reality, but it's the main reality, and this new universe that the supposed hostile takeover wants to bring it is a alternate reality. So this new version kind of explains that the Emperor, instead of going through these mirrors to Exegol to transfer his essence after Anakin threw him down the second Death Star shaft, that either the mirrors didn't work, or that he was able to go through the mirrors, but he didn't get to transfer his essence into a clone body on time. And but a lot of the story of would still be the same, because that would mean that Leia would still be denounced from the New Republic government and reduced to the Resistance to fight some form of Imperial remnants that are able to come out of the unknown region without the help of Snoke, because she's the daughter of Vader. If everything goes to plan, Han would still be around Leia, but more than likely he would go and do something that smugglers would do. And Luke would eventually, his new Jedi Order would eventually make it to the point around this time that they'd be able to form a council with genuine masters, with people that are really well trained and really well diverse in the Force, like the council in the prequels. So that's where the story would be, and I don't know if that's at a better place, at least in the Disney canon, because they're not saying they're writing off the Disney canon, they're just cutting out the sequels, and of course books and other things that directly coincide with the sequels would be cut. But with those things being cut, that's where the story would be looking, more than likely. And if this were to happen, it wouldn't be a good idea it wouldn't be a good idea just to appease a loud minority of people. This loud minority is older people that still love Star Wars and don't like where it's gone. I love Star Wars, and I don't like the sequels, and I don't feel the need to constantly make hate videos about it. I do feel that Lucasfilm is in not a good state, and that Kathleen Kennedy isn't doing too well, and she could be, if she were to be replaced, things could go in a better direction. But I'm not continuously slandering Disney and women for this new direction. But the group that does that is a loud minority. They are but they are part of the core Star Wars older fan base that exists. And when 9-year-olds go out, and last year they saw The Rise of Skywalker, that might have been their favorite movie. So, you know what they did? They went and saw it again. Then they bought a bunch of Porg toys and the Porgs are so marketable. And then they bought t-shirts, and then they bought lunchboxes and backpacks and stickers for the room, because Disney markets everything with Star Wars, and they're making more money off the 9-year-old than the 35-year-old who puts up a rant video on YouTube, and then they are then promoting the movie in a negative way, but because they make it out to be so bad, people are going to want to watch the terrible movie. So either way, they're getting money, but they're getting more from the 9-year-old. So they're going to market to the 9-year-old, and that's how these corporate entities work. They're going to market heavily to that 9-year-old. And they're not going to erase these movies just to make more, because the 9-year-old is now older after all that time. Yes, there are new 9-year-olds, but they also see the Star Wars as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So how are they going to understand? Wait, there's now 7, 8, 9 again? Shouldn't that be 10, 11, 12? And then they're happy with what they have. They already have 7, 8, 9, so their mom's not going to go bring them to a movie theater to see 7 again. And Disney themselves isn't going to invest in making these movies over again. No matter how much they think that some people want them, they're going to look at the money they got, the money they still can make off those movies, and they won't want to remake them. Another thing is that the leak by this YouTuber who keep in mind that he has a strong distaste for the sequels, and he never says it directly in that video, because it's the only video I've watched of his, but the way he talks about how Han Solo walked into a lightsaber and how Leia flew like Mary Poppins, he clearly doesn't like the movies. So the person who started this rumor said that Jon Favreau, the director and the person who wrote the script for The Mandalorian, is likely to take over the seat for president of Lucasfilm, even though that's really all he's done. And he is the Dave Filoni of Marvel. He is involved with most of their projects. He directed the first 2 Iron Mans, I believe, and he's producer on countless other Marvel movies. He is a driving force over at Marvel. and he even plays a character, Tony Stark's assistant. So Disney won't see the purpose of taking a man who has done so much for Marvel and is so useful to just take him and move him to Star Wars where he hasn't done very much. So that's what I think about that. Also, Carrie is gone. Carrie Fisher, who played Leia, is gone. She cannot come back and reprise her role. The new trilogy would, if it were to happen, would just have to not use her. Harrison Ford reluctantly came back for The Force Awakens, and even more reluctantly came back for his cameo in The Rise of Skywalker. Harrison Ford, even only because of how much money they gave him, and if you give Harrison Ford a check that's millions and millions of dollars, he'll come back because that's the kind of person he is. But without Carrie, you cannot progress the story in a way that you would like. Many casual fans instead of hardcore fans, no matter how good the rumored sequel trilogy would be, the casual fans would probably likely turn to the alternate reality for what they want. So at this point, I've accepted that the sequels are not what I wanted, and they could have gone a different way, a much better way, a much more smooth way. But I'm not going to fight an uphill battle, making petitions, protesting outside Lucasfilm, because I don't like The Last Jedi, or The Rise of Skywalker, or The Force Awakens. Just because I didn't like that when there are millions and millions of more people that liked them, and I didn't. And of course, one of the most interesting facts about that is the core older Star Wars fan base does not like that. The casuals like it, which is interesting to think about. But remember how the hardcore older fan base didn't like the prequels? And then the children and the casuals, which are now becoming more hardcore fans, love the prequels, and the prequels are generally much more welcomed. Ahmed Best, the actor of Jar Jar Binks, Ewan McGregor, actor of Obi-Wan Kenobi, they are so happy that their movies they were in are finally getting appreciated. Ahmed Best is much happier now. He thanks Star Wars fans and loves them so much, and they give him so much in return nowadays. Instead of making deathtojarjar.com, so it doesn't matter to me if you like the sequels or if you didn't like the sequels, if you even hated the sequels. Realistically, can you seriously look at this and believe that this is going to happen? Do you really think that, for one thing, Disney, the overlord of everything Star Wars and Marvel related, would do such a thing? Yes, there could be a takeover of Lucasfilm. Yes, someone new could take the spot, but even those that are going to remain in Lucasfilm, they're going to say, guys, is this really a good idea to rewrite this? If they did actually do this, they would make the alternate reality, and it would be a Disney Plus show. It would never become movies. And alright, that's enough of that. That's a pretty, it's a sensitive topic, because any opinion expressed in the Star Wars opinion community that's not aligned with one other person, you're going to get hate on. So we're just going to move right into the Dave Filoni touch, as I'm calling it, and how that is basically that anything Dave Filoni has worked on has turned out really well in the long run because of what happened with the Clone Wars and how close he worked with George Lucas and how George taught him everything about how to write. And you can see, I've been watching Clone Wars behind the scenes featurettes on a channel called Mr. Anderson. I might put a card up about it if I remember. And they're really interesting because you can see, especially in ones where it's kind of like a panel where he has 3 other people alongside him and they're just talking while watching the episodes. They can see how he's influenced by George and how you can see that the stories are being preserved in a way George would want to. Same thing with the Gallery Mandalorian on Disney Plus. And the Clone Wars went through kind of a rougher season. The stories weren't exactly interesting. They were they were interesting, except they weren't anything that really meant a lot in the further universe. And then with Rebels, it was definitely trying to hit a certain demographic in the beginning, mainly focused at 9-year-old kids again, because it was on Disney Plus. I remember when that came out. I must have been 9 too then, and I thought it was too childish for a 9-year-old. And so that kind of shows how they fell apart. And I didn't watch it until I've had all this time during the global shutdown that I finally watched it. And it was kind of annoying in the beginning, but as it progressed, you had to get over the character design. By season 3 and season 4, these things are coming in, these the Bendu and Maul, these stories that didn't seem like they would fit at first, but they've brought those things in because they're interesting stories that could have been told in this medium. And they always brought back legacy characters like Leia and Saw Gerrera to get people to watch the show. And then on season 4, by the ending, it got definitely knew that the 9-year-olds that were watching in the beginning grew up, and it was a little bit more, not dark, it was a little bit more serious by the end of it. It wasn't every episode there is the gang going out to fight stormtroopers again. Now with Resistance, which also Dave Filoni executive produced, I believe. I just believe that he probably executive produced it. So with Resistance, I haven't watched that, but I have seen some of the first episodes. I haven't watched the complete series, but it's definitely aimed at even younger children than Rebels was. And it definitely didn't even try to go with the original Clone Wars audience. The way the characters move, the way they act, it's very childish. And the reviews I've seen of the series and kind of the end of it, they agreed that as the second half, the second season, which is the final one, progressed, it kind of got a little bit better and more serious. It started to interweave with the grander story. So it kind of got better, but mainly it was that very childish on that barge, the Colossus, for a long time. But Dave Filoni, that's typical. It starts off a certain way, and Dave's able to go in and change it to become more interesting, and he can expand off that originally Disney said target demographic. And being a disciple of George, he has a lot of the mannerisms and the way he tells stories the way George Lucas did. It also seems that he has certain characters that he wants to bring back as much as possible, because many of them they feel like they're his characters that he developed. They're not his favorite characters, like Commander Wolf, for instance, though Commander Wolf did come back in Rebels just for a brief cameo at when the first Clone episode came out, and for the end of the series. He brings back Ahsoka and Rex and Bo-Katan, which all three of them are from Clone Wars and are all three in Rebels. All three of them are rumored to be coming in season 2 of The Mandalorian. And they don't necessarily feel like they fit into the story. It feels like the story is made to fit them. The Ahsoka one in Rebels kind of felt natural, but the way Bo-Katan and the story of Sabine work, it kind of feels like Bo-Katan is kind of just shoved in there, as well as how Rex is linked with Ahsoka. And the way they fit into The Mandalorian, which is kind of theorized that the Mando seeks out Ahsoka to learn more about the child or what to do with the child, where to find his homeworld and all that. Why would he, in my opinion, go after Ahsoka, who seems to be, she was kind of hidden away for the majority of the Galactic Civil War and the end of the war after she goes to find Ezra in the unknown regions? She's not really around much. So why would Mando seek out her when Luke Skywalker, the famed poster child for the rebellion, is front and center? Also, with the rumors of Sabine being also in The Mandalorian, it kind of seems like she's going to be one of these Dave Filoni characters that he's going to continuously bring back. Okay, so before I wrap up this final segment about Dave Filoni, I just want to say that he is one of the remaining legacy employees from the Lucas era Lucasfilm. So that is in a large area of creative control that still tells the stories the way George Lucas would want to tell the stories. And I know that the second half of this video has been a little bit more lighthearted than the first, and that's a good thing. Many topics will be more about, this kind of Dave Filoni topic where they're not so people versus people with, sequel debates or Disney, Star Wars, and all of that. So just tell me if you liked this kind of series. I'll probably be doing another one in either 2 weeks or 1 week next Friday, should the next one be coming out. And I just hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Subscribe, like this video, and feel free to add to the discussion in the comments. I'm going to try to set this as a premiere so that if you happen to come across the video at the same time as someone else, you guys could chat live in the premiere comment section, because I'm pretty sure that works. It's live chat. And if you like this video, subscribe, like, comment, feel free to share your opinions no matter how insignificant you think they are, and may the force be with you.